Unexpected ultrasound message from struggling mom. Billionaire's life-changing response revealed. Sarah's heart raced as she sat in the sterile, fluorescent-lit room, her hands trembling. The technician smiled, but all Sarah could think about was the mounting bills and her meager paycheck from 2 minimum-wage jobs. Suddenly, the cold gel on her belly didn't matter anymore. The ultrasound machine buzzed to life, and as the images flashed across the screen, her breath caught in her throat. "Twins," the technician said gently. Sarah felt the world tilt beneath her. How could she possibly provide for 2 more lives? Outside, the autumn leaves rustled against the windows as she left the clinic, the chill of reality sinking in deeper than the November air. Her thoughts raced. Dylan, her 6-year-old son, deserved the world. She worked tirelessly, sacrificing her own dreams of becoming a graphic designer. And now, this news loomed over her like storm clouds, threatening to swallow the fragments of hope she clung to. Later that week, a community fundraiser was set to take place, and Sarah had hesitantly agreed to share her story. Dressed in an old sweater, she fought back tears as she approached the mic. "I'm just a single mom trying to make ends meet," she started, her voice shaking. "Every day feels like an uphill battle. I've had to give up my dreams to provide for my son, and now I have to prepare for 2 more. The crowd fell silent, weighing her words like anchors. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. After her speech, something miraculous happened. The audience erupted in applause. Faces in the crowd reflected not just sympathy but a shared understanding of struggle. Among them was Jonathan Steele, a self-made billionaire who knew the struggles of economic inequality all too well. He was captivated by Sarah's strength, her unwavering love for Dylan. Inspired by her heartfelt speech, he decided right then and there that he would reach out to her. In the days that followed, rumors swirled around town about a big benefactor interested in changing lives. The community rallied behind Sarah like never before. Yet, Sarah wrestled with a tidal wave of feelings. Should she swallow her pride and accept Jonathan's generous offer to sponsor a fundraiser? Or should she pound the pavement, sticking to the values she admired: hard work, resilience, and self-sufficiency? As the night of the fundraiser drew closer, anxiety knotted in her stomach. Every glance, every whisper seemed to amplify her worries. Would she be seen as deserving of such kindness? Or would she forever be that mother who needed help? Finally, standing on that stage, she took a deep breath. The crowd's anticipation crackled in the air, filled with hope, tension, and a shared sense of community. In that moment, the eyes of her son shone back at her, innocent and filled with trust. Could she find the courage to accept help without losing herself in the process? As silence enveloped the room, a single thought echoed in her mind: this night could change everything, or it could shatter the delicate balance she'd fought so hard to create. As Sarah stood frozen on that stage, the weight of the moment pressed heavily on her shoulders. The lights washed over her, illuminating the anxious faces peering in from the audience. Each expression reflected a shared journey she understood all too well. Fear, hope, determination, she felt them all intertwining like threads in a tapestry. She took another deep breath, reminding herself of Dylan's trusting smile. He needed her to be strong. "I appreciate the support," she began, her voice trembling but gaining strength. "But I can't do this alone. I need to know I can provide for my children. I want them to know they can dream without limits." The audience leaned in, their attention unwavering. As her heart raced, she saw Jonathan at the back, his eyes focused on her. She sensed something powerful in his presence. It was more than just wealth, it was the promise of opportunity. But could she trust him? The past few years had taught her to be wary, to protect herself and her family at all costs. But then, a flicker of doubt crept in. What if accepting help was the first step towards her dreams? Dreams she had buried so deep, she could hardly remember them anymore. The thought unsettled her. What would it mean if she said yes to Jonathan's offer? Would it eclipse the little victories she fought for? The audience erupted in supportive murmurs that gradually swelled into a wave of encouragement. She felt their energy like a current beneath her, propelling her forward. Suddenly, she took a leap of faith. I stand here tonight, not just for me. I stand for every parent who has felt helpless, every soul striving to create a better life. Sometimes, needing help isn't a weakness, it's a strength. As she spoke, she pictured the dreams she once had, sketching designs while aiming for a brighter future. The crowd erupted with applause again, and for the first time that night, she let a tentative smile break through. She could do this. If Jonathan wanted to help, maybe he knew something she didn't, something that could build a bridge to a future she had almost given up on. But just as Sarah began feeling a spark of hope, the room darkened slightly, and the microphone picked up a sharp whisper from the back. "What's in it for him?" someone asked. The question pierced through her moment of enlightenment like ice water. The question echoed in her mind, weighing heavily against her newfound resolve. Intrigued looks spread across the audience as they turned to Jonathan, who remained impassive, but his eyes held a glimmer of understanding as if he had anticipated such skepticism. Suddenly, her voice wavered again. "Isn't it true that we all need each other?" she called out, her heart pounding. "In times of struggle, isn't it our responsibility to reach out?" The uncertainty hung thick in the air. The audience responded with applause, yet she could feel the tension coiling around the room. What if they turned against her? What if this wasn't just about pride, or about accepting help? What if it unraveled everything she believed about herself? As she scanned the crowd, her eyes fell on Jonathan once more. He seemed to absorb her doubt, his gaze reassuring. A flicker of determination ignited within her. Perhaps he wasn't just a stranger who wanted to swoop in and save the day, perhaps his offer was a chance at something they could build together. But would the risk be worth it? Could she truly trust a billionaire, or would this lead her down a path she wasn't ready to walk? The silence in the room buzzed with unspoken questions, and as she took her next breath, Sarah knew she was standing on the precipice of a decision that could sway everything. She opened her mouth, about to say more, when a sudden commotion erupted from the back of the room. The door swung open, but it was not just any interruption. The gasp that rippled through the crowd turned her heart to ice. What was happening? Who was coming down that aisle, and what were they about to unveil? The room hushed as the figure stepped forward, silhouetted against the bright lights illuminating the stage. Sarah squinted, heart racing. As the stranger moved closer, she could see the familiar outline of a woman carrying a large envelope. The air shifted again, rife with curiosity and concern. "Mom!" It was a voice Sarah recognized before she even turned her head. Dylan's shout broke through the murmur of confusion. Sarah's heart dropped. She hadn't considered that her kids might be nearby, that they could witness this moment, the pivotal moment she had hoped would inspire them. The woman reached the edge of the stage and paused, looking hesitant. "Sarah. I didn't know where else to go." Her voice trembled, a mixture of anxiety and desperation ringing through each word. Sarah's stomach twisted as recognition washed over her. It was Lisa, the single mother from the community center, someone she had shared tough moments with. "What's wrong?" Sarah asked, urgency filling her words as she stepped closer to the edge of the stage, barely aware of the audience watching. "Is everything okay with your kids?" Lisa shook her head, tears brimming in her eyes. "I got a notice from daycare. They were going to call on Monday, but it can't wait." She thrust the envelope toward Sarah. "It's about my job. They're laying me off and I can't lose this one." Not now. My kids. The reality of Lisa's struggle hit Sarah like a punch to the gut. There they were, completely intertwined, the dreams and fears of all the parents in the room manifesting in this one moment. Lisa wasn't just a face in the crowd, she represented the very challenges Sarah fought to overcome. "Let me see," Sarah whispered, accepting the envelope. She opened it, hands trembling. The words jumped off the page, bleak and unyielding. The daycare's notice, a cruel reminder of the fragility of their situations. An end to support. The crowd, once raucous with encouragement, now nodded thoughtfully, grappling with the weight of this shared struggle. "What are you going to do?" Dylan asked, his voice cutting through the tension, innocence laced with worry. I don't know yet," Sarah admitted, though a spark inside her flickered, demanding she do something. Suddenly, Jonathan's voice chimed in, calm and authoritative, reverberating through the silence. "If I may?" Everyone turned toward him, surprised. This is the kind of moment we should be rallying around. Sarah and Lisa are not alone. We can help. In that instant, a shiver of hope threaded through Sarah's heart. Jonathan stepped forward, his presence larger than life. "What if we together could create a community fund, a support system for parents like Sarah and Lisa?" His gaze swept across the audience, seeking connection. The murmurs intensified. Faces in the crowd brightened with renewed determination. Could this be the bridge Sarah had been searching for? Let us make a difference, together. We need to show that it's not just about individuals but about the whole community rising together, Jonathan continued. Sarah felt her breath hitch. But could she really trust him? Could she trust this idea? A community built on cooperation would require vulnerability more than she'd ever shown before. As she stood there, weighing the possibilities, Lisa's hand clasped around hers, grounding her in the present. "What do you think, Sarah?" As they locked eyes, the moment stretched on like an echo. The question lingered, amplifying the weight of uncertainty. Would this chance lead to the uncharted territory of vulnerability, or were they stepping toward solid ground? The room buzzed with whispers of encouragement, yet the heart of the matter was still nestled within Sarah's own heart. Could she take this leap, not just for herself but for others? And what awaited them at the end of this new journey? As the murmur of support grew louder, Sarah realized that the choice she faced would determine everything. "The time is now," she whispered, heart pounding. But just as her resolve began to solidify, her phone buzzed in her pocket, yanking her moment of clarity away. She fished it out, glancing at the screen. The name sent a jolt through her. Could it be? Who was reaching out now, and what would that change? Sarah's heart raced as she stared at the name on her phone screen. It was Mark, her estranged father. The man she hadn't spoken to in years. All those feelings, unresolved, surged up inside her: anger, sadness, disbelief. He had been a ghost in her life ever since she'd chosen to carve her own path, distancing herself from the life he'd wanted for her. The crowd was still buzzing around her, absorbing Jonathan's words, each face a canvas of hope and determination. Lisa's anxious gaze flickered between Sarah and the proceedings. "Sarah?" Lisa's voice gently nudged her back to the moment. "Is everything okay?" Taking a deep breath, Sarah reluctantly turned her phone off. She couldn't deal with that now. Lisa needed her. They all did. The way Jonathan was rallying everyone, filling the room with purpose, it sparked something inside her. "Yeah, I'm good," she managed to say, though her heart hammered louder with each passing second. "Let us focus on this." As Jonathan began laying out a framework for the community fund, Sarah felt a strange mix of fear and excitement tingle through her veins. Here was a chance to be part of something bigger, something transformative. "Together we stand stronger," Jonathan declared, projecting with conviction. "Let us create a safety net for those like Lisa, those who could be one job loss away from heartbreak." Caught up in the momentum, Sarah started to feel it. This was what she had been searching for. Connection. Purpose. She was ready to step out of the shadows she had clung to for so long. "I've got some ideas," Sarah said, her voice surprising her as it broke through the noise. Heads turned, and a dozen eyes locked onto her. "If we can link local businesses to the fund, provide them with incentives to help families, we could make it sustainable." Dylan beamed up at her, his pride pouring over her in waves. For that moment, she wasn't just a struggling mom, she was a leader. A force for change. The murmurs of approval rippled through the room. Lisa squeezed Sarah's hand, a silent thank you for not just standing by. "We can do this," she said, more sure than ever. But just as the hope brewed inside her, Sarah's phone buzzed again, the sharp sound cutting through the hopeful atmosphere. She glanced at the screen, her resolve shaking when she saw the preview of the message. "I need to talk." Taking a deep breath, she forgot the noise around her and stepped away from the edge of the stage. Her heart clenched. Did this mean he was reaching out? Did he want to reconcile? The young woman inside Sarah wanted to scream, "No way." But the adult, the mother, felt a strange pull. Jonathan continued to inspire the crowd, but Sarah felt adrift. A battle was raging inside her, the community she wanted to build versus the ghost from her past trying to claw its way back into her life. "Make the call," Lisa whispered. "What if he's just trying to stir trouble?" Sarah shot back, the burning question igniting doubt in her stomach. "Or maybe it's a chance to heal," Lisa replied, her voice steady. Nerves replaced excitement, and Sarah hesitated. This was a crossroads, one she couldn't ignore. Was she ready for this? "Sarah," Jonathan called, snapping her back to reality. "We're counting on you." All eyes fell on her, awash in expectation. This was the moment. Would she answer the call from the past, or let it go? As Sarah looked at her phone one last time, she made a choice that could change everything. What awaited her on the other end, and would it tear apart the very fabric of this community she was trying to build? Her finger hovered above the screen, the weight of her decision trembling in the air. "Okay, let's see where this leads," she whispered, pressuring herself to press send. And as the screen lit up with Mark's name, the crowd around her buzzed with excitement. What would she discover next? As soon as she pressed send, a wave of anxious anticipation coursed through Sarah. The room seemed to hold its breath, the atmosphere thickening with unspoken words and lingering tension. Every second felt monumental. What had she just done? "Did you really just message him?" Lisa asked, her eyes wide. Sarah nodded, her throat dry. "Yeah, I did. But what do I even say? I mean, what if?" "Hey," Lisa said, squeezing her hand again. "You did the right thing. This is your chance to take control." The crowd around them started to murmur, reflecting the energy in Sarah's own heart. There was Jonathan, still rallying everyone with his strategic plans, but in that moment, Sarah felt a mix of hope and dread. A loud ping broke the spell, and her phone lit up. She hesitated, glancing at Lisa, who nodded encouragingly. It was time to face what might be the biggest avalanche of feelings in her life. With a deep breath, Sarah opened the message. "Sarah, I've thought about you every day. Can we meet? I just want to talk. Just talk." The words felt like a teetering cliff she was about to step off. She felt anger surging inside again. It had been years of silence. Where had he been all this time? How could he just waltz back in as if nothing happened? "Are you okay?" Lisa whispered, now leaning closer. I don't know. I feel like I just opened a door to a room that's filled with broken things." "But maybe," Lisa interjected, "don't just see the storm. What if there's sunshine waiting on the other side? This could be your moment, Sarah. To finally speak your truth." Sarah looked back at the crowd, absorbing their energy. They were excited, hopeful, leaning into the future they could build together. She didn't want to let her past dictate who she was now. If she was stepping into this new chapter of her life, maybe she could also reclaim this part. Okay, she said slowly, her voice gaining strength. I'll meet him. But not just for us, for Dylan. He deserves to know. With a sense of resolve that pushed through the earlier conflict, Sarah felt an unexpected calm wash over her. She needed clarity, to hear his side, and to finally voice the hurt that had molded so much of her life. Great. Just remember, you're not alone. We're all rooting for you, Lisa said, her smile brightening. As Jonathan wrapped up his speech, a swell of applause filled the room, but Sarah could only focus on the decision she had made. Her heart raced, thoughts racing with what awaited her. Would Mark offer apologies? Would he explain the past? Or was she allowing herself to step into a maze of complications once again? Brian, a gentleman from the back, caught her eye and smiled encouragingly. He had been listening intently, and she could see admiration in his gaze. How could a group of people believe in her when she felt like such a mess? Somehow, they saw potential, and that made her feel more powerful. Let us get through this meeting, Sarah whispered to Lisa, steadying herself. And then I'll call him. As the audience erupted into laughter at Jonathan's final joke, Sarah felt one last surge of courage. She would take back control over her life, one way or another. But as the meeting wrapped up, her phone pinged again. A new message from Mark. Whatever it said, she sensed it was going to be the catalyst for everything that followed. The moment she'd truly been dreading and yearning for was about to unfold. Something tells me this is just the beginning, Sarah murmured to herself, gazing at the screen, her heart pounding with uncertainty and a hint of anticipation. What would Mark reveal next? With trembling fingers, Sarah opened the message from Mark. The screen illuminated his words, and a rush of emotions flooded her. I'm sorry for the way I left things. Can we talk tomorrow at the cafe we used to love? I just need to see you. The cafe. A place filled with laughter, first dates, and dreams. But now, it felt heavy, burdensome, like a relic of the past she had fought to forget. What does it say? Lisa asked, her eagerness palpable. He wants to meet, Sarah replied, her voice barely a whisper. She could feel her pulse quicken, fear and hope battling for dominance in her chest. Tomorrow? That's soon, Lisa said, clasping her hands together. Are you ready for this? Ready? I think so. I mean, I need to be. The room around them was fading, the laughter now a muffled sound. All Sarah could think about was the weight of that cafe, its walls bearing witness to so many moments, both beautiful and painful. She took a deep breath, trying to decouple her uncertain feelings. I guess this also means I have to talk to him about Dylan. That's right, Lisa responded, her voice steady. You have every right to bring him up. It's important. The thought turned in Sarah's mind like an unsteady wheel, each rotation reminding her of the little boy who deserved the truth. Would Mark take responsibility? Would he even want to? Okay, Sarah said, determination creeping into her voice, I'm going to do this. I'll call him after the meeting. As the audience began to filter out, she felt a renewed weight on her shoulders. By facing Mark, she would finally address the hurt and uncertainty that had tainted her life for so long. She looked towards the door, where shadows of the crowd shimmered like distant memories. Would she emerge from this with a sense of closure, or dive deeper into the chaos? When the last of their companions finally departed, Lisa turned to Sarah, her expression serious. Remember, you're not just confronting Mark, you're reclaiming your story. Yeah, my story. The words sparked something inside her, a flicker of defiance. No longer would she allow the past to shackle her. She would face him, speak her truth, and whatever happened next would reveal a new beginning. Taking a moment to gather her thoughts, Sarah felt her phone buzz again. A third message from Mark followed almost immediately. Also, I know about Dylan. You should VE told me. I want to be part of his life. Part of his life. Stunned, Sarah felt her heart skip. Questions surged through her. How could he not realize the gravity of that statement? Did he understand what being part truly meant? Did he really just say that? Lisa's eyes widened, reading her expression. Yeah, he did. Can you believe it? After all this time, he wants to step in. Lisa shook her head, trying to digest what it all meant. That's huge. But is that what you want? You've built a life for Dylan without him. The question hit Sarah like a thunderclap. She hadn't been expecting it. The notion floated like a stray balloon, whimsical yet terrifying. Could she let Mark back into their lives? Could she trust him? I have to think about it, Sarah muttered, her mind swirling. She watched as night fell beyond the cafe window, casting long shadows over the tables where they had shared laughter, tears, and dreams. Each moment felt like a dichotomy, a tender balance between the past and a future now clouded with uncertainty. Are you okay? Lisa asked gently, breaking through Sarah's reverie. Not sure yet, but I will be. I have to be. With those words swimming in her head, Sarah knew she was standing at a crossroads, one where every decision could ripple across her life. The meeting tomorrow would be more than just a chat. It was a dive into the depths of her unresolved feelings. She needed clarity, and she needed to know how to navigate this new terrain. As she prepared to leave, Sarah glanced down at her phone again, Mark's words echoing in her mind. The sound of footsteps faded around her, but one thought remained clear: the storm was brewing, and she was about to confront not just Mark, but her own heart. Let us do this, she whispered to herself, stepping out into the cool night air, her resolve hardening with every step she took. What would tomorrow hold? Would she emerge stronger or more vulnerable than ever before? The dawn would bring answers and perhaps the greatest battle of her life. The sun broke through the horizon, shimmering like a whisper of hope across the morning sky. Sarah stood in front of the mirror, her reflection strikingly different from the indecisiveness of the night before. There was a glimmer of determination in her eyes that she hadn't seen in ages. Today was different. Today, she was ready. Pacing in her small kitchen, she prepared a quick breakfast for Dylan, the sound of pots clanging accompanying the rapid rhythm of her heartbeat. His usual cheerful giggles floated in from the living room, where he played with his toy cars. She watched him, feeling a wave of love and protectiveness wash over her. He was everything to her, the center of her universe. Could she really let Mark back in? As she flipped the last pancake onto the plate, her mind drifted back to Mark's words. I want to be part of his life. It was a statement that echoed with both promise and uncertainty. Part of her desperately wanted to believe that this time he was sincere. The other part feared the pain of disappointment. Mom! Look! Dylan appeared by her side, proudly holding up a bright red car. His cheeks were flushed with excitement, and for a moment, Sarah's worries were pushed aside. That's amazing, sweetie! She exclaimed, genuinely delighted. The joy in his voice reminded her that she was already more than enough for him. She didn't need Mark to fill in any gaps. After breakfast, Sarah made sure Dylan was bundled up and ready for daycare. She felt the clock ticking, each second pulling her closer to the cafe. What if Mark had changed? What if he was ready to embrace his role as Dylan's father? Or what if he was still the man who walked away all those years ago, leaving her alone in the storm? Goosebumps crept across her skin at the thought. Are you all set, buddy? She asked while she tied Dylan's shoes. Yeah. When are we going to see Daddy? His innocent question felt like a knife to her heart. She hesitated, words caught in her throat. After school, okay? We'll talk then. Okay. His smile made it a bit easier, but doubt gnawed at her insides as she waved goodbye at the daycare. The drive to the cafe felt like a journey through molasses. The streets blurred by, but every pulse in her veins was a reminder of what she was about to face. Arriving at the cafe, she took a moment outside, looking through the large windows at the familiar landscape within, tables filled with couples, laughter spilling into the air, baristas buzzing with energy. Finally, she stepped inside. The scent of coffee enveloped her, tugging at memories both sweet and sour. She spotted Mark at a corner table, nervously fiddling with a sugar packet, his eyes darting to the door each time a new customer walked in. The sight stirred old feelings within her, the excitement, the fear, the faint thrill. "Sarah." His voice was a mix of relief and anxiety as she approached. He stood up, almost as if the years hadn't passed. "Hi." It came out softer than she intended. They sat down, the silence stretching like a fragile thread between them. She studied him carefully, his eyes, his posture, the way he bit his lip when he was thinking hard. "It's good to see you," he started, his gaze earnest. "Yeah." She paused, unsure of how to bridge the gap. "I got your message about Dylan. I wish I had known sooner. I want to be involved. He deserves that." Sarah felt her breath hitch. How could he say that so easily? Did he truly understand what was at stake? Involved? It's not just that. Mark leaned closer, his expression shifting from anxiety to determination. "I know I messed up, Sarah. I know I don't have the right to ask for forgiveness, but I want to try for both of you." The weight of his words settled heavily on her chest. Could a simple promise be enough to mend the scars of the past? As uncertainty danced in her heart, Sarah realized with a painful clarity that forgiveness was an easier concept than acceptance. Trust would not come without scars. "Mark, I don't know if I can just let you back in," she confessed, her voice trembling. But before he could respond, a shout from the cafe's entrance caught their attention. A woman with a wild look rushed in, her eyes darting around as if searching for something lost. "Has anyone seen my phone?" And just like that, the moment unraveled. The woman's voice sliced through the tension, igniting distraction. But beneath it all, Sarah knew, the conversation with Mark had only just begun. What would she choose once they returned to the topic of Dylan? Would she define boundaries, or would she risk everything again? As her heart raced, another question loomed: what other secrets awaited them in the shadows? The energy in the cafe buzzed around them like static, but Sarah's mind was elsewhere. The unexpected shout, fading into the background, couldn't compete with the weight of Mark's presence in front of her. She forced herself to meet his gaze again, grappling with the enormity of what lay just beneath the surface between them. Can we start over?" Mark asked, his words tentative yet filled with an earnestness that tugged at her heart. "I know I can't erase the past, but I want to be there for you both. I want to make it right." A knot tightened in her stomach. She wanted to believe him. Part of her yearned for the days when their laughter filled the air, the moments when love felt effortless. But reality screamed that it wouldn't simply be that easy again. Starting over? The words felt foreign as they escaped her lips. "It's not that simple, Mark. You missed so much. Dylan deserves more than just half-hearted attempts." Mark leaned back, his expression shifting as the realization of her words sank in. He took a breath, steeling himself. "I understand. But I'm willing to do the work. I want to show both of you that I'm serious." For a moment, Sarah felt a flicker of hope. The way he spoke, almost pleadingly, ignited something deep within her. But she couldn't ignore the bitterness of the past. "And what if you change your mind again? How do I know this isn't just another empty promise?" "I can't promise I won't make mistakes," he replied, his voice earnest. "But I can promise to try my hardest. I want to develop a relationship with him, with you. We can figure this out together." The mention of together sent a stir through her, but she quickly pushed it aside. Could she really consider a together with someone who had broken her trust? "Mark, it's not just me," she murmured, the weight of her heart hanging heavy. Dylan doesn't he know you? He needs stability, a father who sticks around. He nodded, visibly pained but resolute. I can be that person. I've spent so much time thinking about how to approach this. Not being there for him was my biggest regret. Her breath caught. The truth of his confession struck a chord, and her heart responded with a mix of longing and wariness. Regrets don't change the past, she whispered, a lump forming in her throat. They both fell silent, the noise of the cafe swirling around them like an indifferent hum. Sarah clenched her jaw, willing back the tears that threatened. She wanted more than anything for her son to have the father he deserved. But scars don't heal that quickly. Then, from somewhere behind her, a crashing sound broke through her thoughts. A waiter had dropped a tray of mugs, sending shards of porcelain scattering across the floor. Sarah jolted, her heart thudding wildly as she watched the chaos unfold. Mark looked concerned, instinctively reaching out a hand. Are you okay? It was gentle, simple, but something about it sent warmth spreading in her chest. Yeah. Just startled. She glanced back at the cafe, imploding under the weight of her emotions. I guess the world expects us to pick up the pieces, doesn't it? But what if we don't have to do it alone? Mark's voice was soft yet firm, the timbre echoing down the hall of her heart. What if we can support each other? Support. It was a word laden with history, wrapped in questions. Just the thought opened a floodgate of emotions, and Sarah felt her resolve falter. She wanted that support, imagined a world where they could redefine their lives. But could she trust him? Sarah? His voice held an edge of uncertainty. Give me a chance. Give us a chance. Tension lingered in the air, as thick as the aroma of coffee that surrounded them. Between the clattering mugs and murmured conversations, a wistful longing echoed in her chest. She swayed between hope and doubt like a pendulum, uncertain where it would come to rest. Okay, I'll think about it, she finally said, cautious yet hopeful, her heart pounding with the weight of her own words. But as she felt the stir of something new, an ember of possibility igniting within, she couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to come. What else lay buried in the shadows of their past? Would the answers open a door, or close it forever? The buzzing in the cafe faded into an almost tranquil silence for Sarah as she stared into the depths of her coffee cup, swirling the dark liquid absent-mindedly. Her mind raced with possibilities and doubts. Could she really let Mark into their lives again? Does forgiveness come with a timeline? Just as she was beginning to wrap her head around it, her phone vibrated violently on the table, breaking her reverie. Startled, she quickly picked it up, glancing at the screen. A message notification flashed from her sister, Lucy. Call me ASAP. It's important. Sarah's heart sank a little at the urgency. She didn't want to deal with more drama right now, not in the midst of trying to untangle her feelings for Mark. But that knot in her stomach twisted tighter. She shot Mark a glance, and the concern etched on his face told her he sensed something was off. I need to take this, Sarah said, feeling the pulse of adrenaline as she walked out of the cafe, a slice of cool air greeting her. She dialed Lucy's number, anxiety zeroing in on her. Sarah. Lucy's voice came through, breathless and frantic. You need to come to the hospital. It's about Mom. What? What happened? It's not good, just come, okay? She asked for you. I'll explain everything when you get here. The instinctive fear that gripped her heart shaped the world around her into a blur. The memories of family meals filled with laughter twisted into shadows of worry and regret, gnawing at her like an old wound that refused to heal. Okay, I'm on my way, she said, her tone firm despite her tempestuous thoughts. Just as she hung up, Mark emerged through the cafe door, concern plastered on his face. What did Lucy say? You look pale. It's Mom. I need to go to the hospital. Right now? His voice suddenly turned serious, the concern morphing into something more as he stepped closer, grounding her with his presence. I'll go with you. Sarah hesitated. Mark, I don't think no, I insist. You shouldn't be alone. His conviction cut through her hesitation, and, as she looked into his eyes, for a moment, she was reminded of the man she loved, the man who used to hold her on the very edge of her fears. All right, she nodded, feeling a mix of fear and strange comfort blossom in her chest as they quickly made their way to his car. The drive was filled with silence, the weight of unspoken words suspended between them, both knowing they had just opened a door to a new chapter, but completely unsure what awaited on the other side. The hospital loomed ahead, sterile and bright, and her heart raced as they pulled into the parking lot. She turned to Mark, taking a deep breath. I don't know what to expect. I'm terrified. Mark took her hand, squeezing it gently. Just take it one step at a time. You've got this. His words resonated deep within her, pulling her thoughts away from the potential darkness ahead. But as they stepped into the hospital, she felt that old, familiar sense of dread creep back into her heart. What if her mother was too sick to fight? What if this was the moment everything changed? Each step down the sterile hall felt like a march to an unknown fate, and as they approached her mother's room, Sarah realized she wasn't just scared for her mother's well-being, she also feared what this could mean for her and Mark. Could face-to-face vulnerability reveal deeper truths about their broken past? With her heart in her throat, she pushed open the door. The sight inside was a jarring contrast to the chaos brewing in her mind. Her mother lay frail but awake, a fragile smile spreading across her lips. But before Sarah could speak, her eyes shifted to Mark. The weight of the moment settled heavily in the air. What would her mother think? What was she about to unravel? The questions clawed at Sarah, and she held on to Mark's hand tighter, her heart racing. Hello, sweetheart, her mother said softly. I knew you'd come. And just like that, the tension coiled deeper. What revelations would arise in this instant, and how would they pull Sarah and Mark even closer, or further apart? The warmth in Sarah's mother's voice eased some of the tension in Sarah's heart as she stepped further into the room, still holding Mark's hand. Mom, I'm here, Sarah managed to say, her voice thick with emotion. Who's this? Her mother asked, her eyes shifting between Sarah and Mark with an inquisitive gaze. This is Mark, the father of my son. The words felt monumental, hanging in the air like unspoken secrets. Her mother's brow furrowed at the revelation, and Sarah could see the gears turning in her mind. Hi, Mark said, his tone respectful yet cautious. It's good to meet you. Sarah watched her mother's reaction closely. Her expression softened, a faint smile appearing as if Mark's presence reconnected pieces of her past. I've heard so much about you, her mother replied softly, studying him as though assessing his sincerity. Mom, I know things have been complicated, Sarah started, her voice gathering courage. But I want you to know I'm trying to work things out between us. Mark nodded, his hand giving hers a gentle squeeze. I want to be involved in their lives. I know I've made mistakes, but I'm willing to do everything it takes to earn Sarah's trust and Dylan's too. Her mother's expression flickered, perhaps surprised at his candor, and the subtle crack in the air felt deafening. We all have our pasts, she said slowly, her voice steady. But healing starts with honesty. Taking a breath, Sarah leaned in closer to her mother. I need your guidance right now. I don't know how to navigate this and I worry. The fear swallowed her whole, as the weight of vulnerability pressed against her chest. Worry shows you care, sweetheart, her mother replied, her eyes shining with understanding. But remember, sharing your heart opens doors. Don't push anyone away who wants to support you, especially someone who's willing to change. Mark's gaze met Sarah's, a silent understanding passing between them. Could she let him in? Just then, her mother reached out a trembling hand. You are strong, Sarah. You fought so hard. It's time to let others help carry some of that weight. Tears brimmed in Sarah's eyes. What her mother said struck a chord deep within her. Could she embrace this help while still honoring her own resilience? It felt both terrifying and liberating at the same time. Mark interjected softly, "I am already so impressed with what you've done for Dylan. I want to lift you up, not bring you down." As Sarah processed his words, she felt encouraged, like the swirling storm inside her was beginning to settle. A new awareness bloomed in her heart. Healing doesn't just mean accepting assistance, it means acknowledging that strength can manifest itself in collaborative efforts, too. Taking a leap of faith, she turned to Mark. "Maybe we can find common ground. Perhaps we can redefine our relationship, not only for us but for Dylan, to give him the family he deserves." Mark's eyes widened, sincerity shining through. "Absolutely. I'm in." Having taken that first step, Sarah's heart surged with renewed hope. Her mother smiled, and in that moment, Sarah felt a sense of clarity. The past wouldn't disappear overnight, but she could shape the future. Suddenly, a thought gave her pause, pulling her back from uncertainty. What if this wasn't just about the two of them? What if their journey could inspire not only their family but also the community she had so desperately wished to support? "Mom," Sarah began, her voice steady again, "what if we find ways to help other parents like us? Parents who are scrounging for help, trying to make things work. Isn't that what we all need?" Her mother's eyes sparkled as she nodded. "That's the spirit, Sarah. You've got a heart for change, and together, you can impact those around you." Mark looked inspired, and the glimmer in his expression filled Sarah with optimism. "I'd love to help with that," he said, the firm resolve in his voice lighting a fire within her heart. With that door finally opened, Sarah felt ready to step into a new path, not just for herself, but for her family, all the while keeping the knowledge of collaboration, healing, and love at the forefront. As they stood together, the room felt brighter, the storm outside quelled. They were embarking on a shared journey, converging their lives for a better tomorrow. Hope lingered in the air, floating like dandelion seeds on a gentle breeze. And as they left the hospital, Sarah turned to Mark, "Let's face whatever comes next together. Truly together." Mark nodded, an illuminating smile on his face. "I wouldn't want it any other way." With their hands intertwined, they stepped into the world beyond, ready to redefine what it meant to be a family, open, honest, and filled with the promise of change. Now, Sarah understood this was more than just a reconciliation, it was a chance to weave a new story, one that could inspire others to embrace their own journeys of transformation. And as light flooded through the windows of the hospital exit, she felt it, the pulse of ambition and hope coursing through her veins. The future would have its challenges, but together, nothing could dim the brightness of their path ahead. And just like that, Sarah knew, this was only the beginning. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support for countless inspiring stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us grow. Comment with your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.